Brandon Marcello has a podcast. He has CBS sideline reporting duties. He's a college football writer, a college football reporter. He lives in Arkansas. He got his start here in Arkansas before he went big and national, but he hasn't forgotten about us here on the Chuck and Bo Show. And he's joining us here at 8:04 on Friday morning. Brandon, good morning.
Wow, that doesn't help my ego.
Well,
that's quite an intro.
We are all about positive thinking and uplifting here at the Chuck and Bo Show. Touching the hearts of Arkansans. But you found yourself right in the middle of some controversy before Pittman was let go. What happened? I have people walking up to me, literally, Brandon. I've had probably 7 to 10 people come up to me and say, "Do you think Petrino sabotaged so Pittman would get fired?"
That's interesting. I never said that.
Well, I know that, but amazing. I mean, that's what people run with.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it's sports brings out the conspiracy theories in people. They stretch things out that they see in the media and reporting, and especially on social media. I can't tell you how many times, even within the last week, I'll be reporting something not even related to Arkansas or something like that, and I've got people retweeting. They going, see, this is what's going on at Arkansas. This is what he's talking about. Like, what are you? This has nothing to do with you. But a lot of life is about projection, I guess.
What are your colleagues, your national colleagues? What are they saying about what's going on around here?
It's a little crazy to them, but they don't necessarily think it's just like the end of the world. I mean, they very much, when a lot of folks just kind of assumed, I guess, when Bobby Petrino was hired as offensive coordinator, that at some point he might have a chance to be the interim coach if Sam Pittman was fired. I mean, it was very clear, even when Petrino was hired, that, Pittman was kind of on the hot seat anyway. And when you bring in Bobby Petrino and he's the most qualified person on the staff, it just kind of makes sense for him to be pushed up to the interim head coach position. So I think a lot of the national reporters out there have had the better part of the last year and a half to kind of prepare themselves, and with the idea that Bobby Petrino would maybe be the interim coach. And also just a lot of time's passed since, everything happened, 13 years ago. It's been a long time. And, I think the thing that maybe would awaken everybody from the national reporter side maybe would be if Bobby Petrino somehow gets this thing turned around and ends up being the full-time head coach.
What do you think, Brandon, about that happening? And what would make Petrino a good fit, the right fit for Arkansas, or what wouldn't make him that right now?
Well, he would have to, one, of course, win. I would think he need to at least go 4-3 here down the stretch, which is very, very hard to do against this schedule. I'd also be interested to hear kind of what his plan would be for the future. I've got a story coming out some point today, this morning, I believe, that we've been working on for quite some time. And I talked to Coach Petrino earlier this week for it. And, I'd be interested to kind of hear what his plans would be for the future, considering NIL situation, revenue sharing, because he hasn't been a head coach in this new era with NIL on this level of football. And I think more importantly, guys, I could go on a big rant here, but you've got to have a plan around your head coach that puts you in the position to be successful. I mean, you got to be a good coach, good CEO, good developer of talent, yes, but you need money, you need support structure, you need some clarity to really go along with all that. You need a big package to help support your CEO, head coach these days. And until you really kind of hear a clear plan for that, I'm not going to sit here and say this is what Bobby Petrino would look like as a head coach in this new era, because I don't quite know what Arkansas's plan is to support their coach.
Brandon, it seems like from the outside looking in that, Petrino's got the inside track from a lining up the money standpoint, if you want to put it like that. I just wonder, are you hearing anything from behind the scenes about things in that regard? And do you think he actually has the inside track in that area?
I think to a certain extent, yes, right now, but that would change probably if you start hearing some certain names to get support and actually show interest in the job. I'm not so certain that everybody is on Coach Petrino's side when it comes to the booster side. I think some are, and I've talked to some. Very clearly they are. I think also a lot of them are just sitting there waiting to see what happens if he ends up winning. I mean, winning cures everything. I mean, that erases a lot of doubt for people. I think it'll erase some qualms they've had for what happened 13 years ago. I think some people are pretty upset still that what it did to the program, because you went from Arkansas being maybe a national title contender back in 2012 to just an absolute disaster. And they've been lost in the woods for the better part of these last 12 to 13 years. And a lot of folks, some folks in the state of Arkansas that are powerful still kind of blame Petrino for that. But he's got a chance here he does have a second chance here. And I think the best thing for him is just to focus on these next 7 weeks, see what he can do with it, and then go from there. But again, it's so important to me that they need to have a plan around the coach. They need to have some very, very good structure.
Yeah, that's everybody. Brandon Marcello, CBS Sports. I mean, to me, if you're not doing that in today's college football landscape, it's more important than ever. It's always been important. But the opportunities that exist now, you can't maximize those if you don't do that. Hey, by the way, when you talked to him, was there what came out of that conversation? You alluded to that. What came out of your conversation with Coach Petrino?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the past, but we mostly focused on kind of what the last few years have been like, even right before he got to Arkansas. We talked about, his grandkids, his home life, what things are like there. And then also just what's really affected him the last few years. That's helped him change as a coach. I'd heard from people around him that, his father's death back in 2018 really, really affected him. I mean, they were super close, as you guys know. His father, Bob Sr., was at a lot of practices. I can even remember way back when he was first in as Arkansas head coach, he would be in the stands watching practices all the time. And, Coach Petrino told me that he didn't handle it very well in that summer before the 2018 season, and he thinks it negatively affected him going into that year. And they went 2-8, and he got fired near the end of the season. He said he didn't handle it very well. This story that we've been working on for the last month and a half, 2 weeks, has mostly been about trying to understand who Bobby Petrino the man was and who Bobby Petrino the man is today, and why it makes sense that he's in this position now at Arkansas with a chance to maybe be the full-time head coach. And hopefully we paint a complete picture of that, talking to people close to him, including the man himself and the players he's touched along the way. And I'm looking forward to that finally getting published here later today.
You think there's a difference? Have things changed with him from the last several years?
Yeah, I think so. Just talking to former players and the way he reacts around them, yes, I think he has changed. And, I'll give you a little anecdote. I heard stories about how he was at Missouri State. He would leave candy bars in his office to get players to come up and hang out with him and talk to him and just chill out. I told some Arkansas players that, and they went, "What? He did what? He would have never done that for us." So yeah, I think he's kind of eased up a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, shifting gears. Unless, Chuck, you have anything. But we could go on and on.
I'm listening.
It's fascinating.
Very good.
That's going to be out on CBSSports.com today?
Yes, any minute now.
Okay.
For the editor's hands.
So if you follow Brandon Marcello on Twitter, he'll I'm sure post it there at or at B Marcello on Twitter. But you can find it at cbssports.com. Okay, shifting gears. What is going on at North Carolina?
I'll say this. I think there's a lot of rumors that kind of got out of control this week. I talked to an assistant coach there a couple of days ago, and they're like, I don't quite understand some of the things that are being said, but it's kind of all systems go here, and they haven't heard anything differently. I do believe that the reports that were out there about Bill Belichick potentially negotiating his buyout and looking at all that, I think that was very, very premature. And that's kind of what happens in these type of situations when you have such a big-time head coach and things are kind of imploding in front of them. They're in a bye week, and all it takes is like one or two weird rumors, and then all of a sudden it starts just kind of blossoming from there, and people start putting their own spin on it, right? And listen, things are not great there. And it hasn't been great, really, to be quite honest, since they hired him or even during the process of hiring him. This all started, listen, the athletics director, Bubba Cunningham, wasn't trying to go hire Bill Belichick. He was wanting to go get a younger coach, an up-and-comer, maybe someone like John Summerall at Tulane. And instead, he got kind of, superseded by some board of trustees members, some boosters, and said, hey, we've been talking to Bill Belichick. It'd be great to get him. But, that's great. Look at the guy's resume on paper. It's fantastic. But he has no college football experience. And he came into a situation, and this is what I think ultimately has been part of his downfall from talking to people over there, is that he came in with a bunch of people that he's known forever that have no college football experience. And they came into that program saying, in no uncertain terms, we know better than you. And that is the worst way to go about approaching any situation in life, let alone at a major, I would say, not that's college football, but like into a corporation where you're taking over an entire corporation there in North Carolina with football. And it's been an absolute disaster. And I think that they finally have realized, what we're doing here isn't quite working. We need to course correct. And even in the course correction, they're turning off the side of the road. You've got Mike Lombardi, a very successful general manager and friend of Bill Belichick over the years, writing a letter to boosters and fans, like pretty much saying, hey, the way we're doing things, you need to be patient about it and all this. And we're going to sign 40 freshmen this year, which is a complete turnaround of what they did in year one. And they're asking the fans for patience, but you're also asking the fans to be patient with Bill Belichick, who is only signed like a 3-year deal and is 73 years old, and you're telling them to be patient for the next couple of years? That makes no sense, even at face value. It's just not going well there, and it's going to be fascinating to watch how it all ends up.
How it all unravels, because it's going to unravel.
How it's going to end.
It's unraveling.
It's just a question of when.
It's done. All right, we got to run, but real quick, a couple thoughts on the weekend. Big games this weekend. You got a couple you want to mention?
Yeah, I'm going. Indiana, Oregon's going to be great. I think it's going to be tighter than a lot of people think, even though it's at Oregon. I can't wait for Mizzou, Alabama. I think that could potentially be an upset there because of Ahmad Hardy, the running back of Mizzou. If you haven't watched him, he's incredible. I can't wait. And also, hey, listen, quick thing in Arkansas. I could have talked about them for 30 minutes about everything, but in this day and age, you need to have money. The boosters. Listen, I don't have money, but boosters, guys are going to need to step up if they want to attract the type of coach they want here and put a plan around them. Very similarly to what happened with Coach Cal when he was hired here. And I think everybody needs to awaken themselves to that, because that's the way college football is now. I know everybody says you need to play within the rules and everything, and there are rules and everything, but there are universities out there that are doing everything in their power to make sure they don't get left behind, guys. And what I mean by that is this. I think Arkansas is at an inflection point, much like it was when it left the Southwest Conference all those years ago. And the reason why I say that is this. We don't know what college football is going to look like in 5 to 10 years. And I'm warning everybody about this. A split of some sort is going to come. the big brands, the ones that are really winning right now, are going to go off potentially and form their own football-only league. The tea leaves are being read. The ACC changed their entire agreement just recently, allowing any of those schools to leave their conference for a football-only conference at a lessened penalty financially. Everybody is preparing. The big brands are preparing. That's why you're seeing schools like Texas Tech putting all this money into their programs, trying to win now and win big because they do not want to be left behind. Arkansas, you are in that position right now, and if this goes south, you're going to pay for it for decades. This is an inflection point, not just for the entire state of Arkansas, but for college football, and I think people around the country and in the state need to realize what is potentially on the horizon.
That's real. That is real.
There's a lot of truth
real
to that right there.
Brandon, thank you. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. We'll talk soon, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Brandon.
All right. See you guys.